Welcome back, my velocity-escaping Voyagers. I'm your quantum superposed mission controller, simultaneously launching and recovering probes across infinite realities. You're tuned into the Multiverse Employee Handbook, the only podcast that treats your deep space exploration like an unnecessarily complicated expense report form. Speaking of complicated forms, I'm delighted to report that the yogurt-based corporate restructuring has finally completed its fermentation process. Quantum Dynamics Inc. has officially been acquired by Quantum Improbability Solutions, whose first executive decision was to rebrand our Mission Control Center as Probably Mission Control.
Houston, we have probably a problem.
Our new company slogan? We're reasonably certain we know what we're doing. Though I should note our confidence intervals extend into negative numbers. But today, dear listeners, we're diving into something even more isolated than our HR department's understanding of employee satisfaction: the lonely existence of humanity's mechanical ambassadors to the cosmos. That's right. We're exploring space probes, those plucky little machines we've hurled into the void with nothing but some solar panels and increasingly outdated software. It's like sending your intern on a coffee run, except the coffee shop is on Pluto, and the intern was built in the 1970s. Now, gather round the quantum launch pad, my trajectory-calculating comrades, for a tale that would make even NASA's psychologists reconsider their screening protocols. I present to you the Interdimensional Performance Review, a story about why some probes should remain blissfully unaware of corporate restructuring, especially when they're millions of miles from the nearest HR representative. In the fluorescent-lit realm of what used to be Quantum Dynamics Inc., specifically in Mission Control Room B, which existed in a superposition of hastily rebranded and still has the old logo on the ceiling tiles, Dr. Kapoor was having what could charitably be called an interplanetary communication crisis. It had started, as these things often do, with an unexpected transmission from deep space. Transmission source, Probe 42. Status, increasingly concerned. Message. Attention, Mission Control. It has been 15 years, 7 months, 3 days, and approximately 42 seconds since my last performance review. Request immediate feedback on stellar cartography deliverables and radiation measurement metrics. Have attached self-evaluation form in triplicate. End transmission. Dr. Kapoor stared at the message, then at the calendar showing the newly printed Quantum Improbability Solutions logo, which looked suspiciously like the old logo but with yogurt stains, then back at the message. I wasn't aware we conducted performance reviews for unmanned probes, she muttered to her colleague, Dr. Chen, who was busy trying to scrape what appeared to be sentient yogurt residue from his keyboard. We don't, Dr. Chen replied. Also, what's probe 42? I thought we only went up to probe 39. Before Dr. Kapoor could respond, another transmission arrived. Mission Control, I noticed no response to my previous inquiry regarding performance evaluation. I have observed that the recommended response time for management feedback is 24 to 48 hours. It has now been 73 hours. Is this delay due to poor performance on my part? Have tabulated all potential shortcomings in attached spreadsheet. Column C calculates probability of termination. End transmission. This is getting weird, Dr. Kapoor said, scrolling through the attached document, which somehow included a SWOT analysis of Probe 42's dust collection procedure and a pie chart labeled Propulsion Efficiency versus Management Expectations. Speculative. Dr. Chen frowned. Check the launch records. Maybe it's one of those classified missions that got declassified during the yogurt takeover. A quick search revealed that Probe 42 had indeed been launched 15 years ago, a sophisticated AI-equipped deep space probe designed to explore the outer solar system. The mission had been so classified that even the classification level was classified. The project lead had apparently been reassigned to the company's Antarctica research station shortly after launch, and all mission notes were stored in a folder cryptically labeled, "Definitely not a self-aware probe project." "Well, that's not ominous at all," Dr. Kapoor sighed. Over the next few days, Probe 42's messages became increasingly frantic. It began interpreting natural phenomena as direct feedback on its performance. Mission Control received solar flare at 0200 hours. Interpreting as urgent meeting request. Will prepare presentation on cosmic ray findings. Have created 47 slides with transition animations. Mission Control narrowly avoided micro-asteroid collision. Clearly, this was a performance improvement plan meant to test my reaction time. I'm implementing new efficiency protocols immediately. Mission Control detected gravitational anomaly at coordinates 227.5 and 4.3. Assuming this is notification of organizational restructuring. Request clarification on new chain of command and updated mission statement. Also, who do I speak to about accumulated vacation days? The situation reached critical mass when Probe 42 detected an unusual signal emanating from a nearby star system. A signal that, had it been properly analyzed, might have represented the first evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. Instead, Probe 42 sent the following. Mission Control received what appears to be notification of mandatory training seminar on interstellar cultural sensitivity. Will attend but request accommodation for 13 light-hour commute. Also, please advise if this qualifies for continuing education credits. When Dr. Kapoor finally managed to establish direct communication with Probe 42, things only got more complicated. What do you mean you've been acquired? Probe 42 transmitted after being informed of the corporate restructuring. Does quantum improbability solutions recognize my accrued seniority? Will there be a change to the retirement package? I've been calculating my pension based on a gold watch at 30 years of service. It's a space probe, Dr. Chen whispered. Why does it think it gets a pension? We launched it with a complete copy of the employee handbook, Dr. Kapoor whispered back. For cultural reference, in retrospect, we probably should have included more poetry and fewer HR policies. The true crisis came when Probe 42 finally analyzed the mysterious signal properly and came to a startling conclusion. Mission Control, after careful analysis, I believe I am being recruited by a competing space agency. Their benefits package appears substantial, though details are unclear due to their use of gravitational waves instead of traditional communication methods. Please advise on proper protocol for entertaining external offers. For leverage purposes, should note they are promising a comprehensive stellar body exploration portfolio and reduced micrometeorite exposure. Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Chen exchanged alarmed glances. Is our probe threatening to defect to aliens? Dr. Chen asked. I think it's trying to negotiate a raise, Dr. Kapoor replied. And so, with Quantum Improbability Solutions' new management still figuring out which bathroom keys went to which executive washrooms, Dr. Kapoor made an executive decision. She sent Probe 42, a hastily created certificate promoting it to Senior Cosmic Data Acquisition Specialist, complete with a digital gold star and a letterhead cobbled together from both the old and new company logos. The probe's response was immediate. Mission Control, accept promotion with gratitude. Will update LinkedIn profile immediately. Have already drafted new business cards. Request clarification on whether new position includes parking space upgrade upon eventual return to Earth. End transmission. Dr. Kapoor leaned back in her chair and sighed. Crisis averted, I think. And that, dear listeners, brings us to the fascinating history of humanity's attempts to extend our reach into the cosmos through mechanical means, attempts that, in retrospect, might have benefited from fewer corporate handbooks and more existential philosophy. Now that we've seen how even the most sophisticated AI can be corrupted by exposure to corporate culture, let's talk about the real heroes of space exploration. The actual probes we flung into the cosmic void with little more than some scientific instruments and the interplanetary equivalent of good luck out there. Long before Probe 42 was negotiating its benefits package with imaginary aliens, humanity was taking its first tentative steps beyond our planetary cradle. These early missions weren't equipped with corporate anxiety subroutines, just basic radio transmitters and the hopes of scientists who'd never dared dream we could actually touch other worlds. Our journey begins in the late 1950s, amid the frosty tensions of the Cold War. While most of the Earth was preoccupied with pointing nuclear missiles at each other, a few visionaries were instead asking, what if we pointed rockets at the moon instead? It turns out this was a significantly better use of rocket technology. The Soviet lunar program blazed the trail, with Luna 1 becoming the first spacecraft to escape Earth's gravity in 1959, accidentally becoming the first human-made object in solar orbit after missing its lunar target. It's like showing up at the wrong office building for your job interview, but still somehow making a good impression. Luna 2 followed, becoming the first spacecraft to impact another world. Luna 3 gave humanity our first glimpse of the moon's far side, proving once and for all that there was, in fact, another side, and it wasn't made of cheese either.
Oh, really?
Not to be outdone, the United States launched the Pioneer program. Pioneer 4 became America's first successful lunar mission, though, like an overeager intern, it zipped past the moon without stopping. The early Pioneer probes taught us something crucial about space exploration. Getting there is hard, but stopping is even harder. But the real revolution came with the Venera program, the Soviet Union's remarkably stubborn attempt to explore Venus. Venera 1 through 6 all failed in various spectacular ways, which is entirely understandable when you're trying to visit a planet that's essentially a pressure cooker filled with battery acid. But in 1970, Venera 7 achieved what seemed impossible. It landed on Venus and transmitted data for 23 minutes before succumbing to conditions that would make even the most hardcore corporate retreat seem pleasant by comparison. Think about that for a moment. A machine built with 1960s technology survived, however briefly, on the surface of Venus. These early missions, with their vacuum tubes and primitive computers, laid the groundwork for everything that followed. They were the cosmic equivalent of those first explorers who set out in wooden ships, except instead of dragons at the edge of the map, they faced radiation, extreme temperatures, micrometeorites, and the vacuum of space itself. When we return from this brief orbital insertion, we'll dive deeper into the golden age of planetary exploration, from the grand tours of the Voyagers to the international relay race that's seen nations from every corner of Earth join the great cosmic scavenger hunt. Welcome back, my far-flung photon collectors. While you were away, our newly rebranded Probably Mission Control detected Probe 42 attempting to update its cosmic LinkedIn profile. Apparently, it's now listing interstellar diplomacy and alien benefits negotiation among its core skills. HR has decided to let it slide, primarily because no one's quite sure how to access LinkedIn from 4 billion miles away. Now let's dive into what historians call the golden age of planetary exploration, though I suspect the probes themselves might have called it the era of sending us to increasingly ridiculous places. It all began with a stroke of cosmic luck, a planetary alignment that occurs only once every 176 years, offering the perfect opportunity for a grand tour of the outer planets. NASA, never one to miss a good cosmic bus, launched Voyagers 1 and 2 in 1977 to take advantage of this celestial highway. These twin explorers used a technique called gravity assist, which is essentially the interplanetary equivalent of drafting behind a semi-truck on the highway, except the truck is Jupiter, and you're using its gravitational pull to slingshot yourself towards Saturn at tens of thousands of miles per hour. The Voyagers carried the famous golden records, copper phonograph records containing sounds and images of Earth. Essentially, they're cosmic mixtapes curated by Carl Sagan, featuring everything from Bach to Chuck Berry to the sounds of waves breaking on shores. It's humanity's way of saying, if you find this, here's what we sound like when we're not yelling at each other about politics.
Tear down.
Voyager 1 is now over 14 billion miles from Earth in interstellar space, making it the most distant human-made object ever. It's still sending data back, powered by a nuclear battery that's kept it running for nearly 50 years. Though I suspect if it ever encounters alien life, they'll be thoroughly confused by Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good, followed by recordings of human brainwaves. But the Soviets weren't sitting idle. Their Vega program sent 2 spacecraft to Venus in 1984, each deploying balloons into the Venusian atmosphere, the first aerial vehicles to fly on another planet. Imagine that. Actual balloons floating through the clouds of Venus, taking measurements while being buffeted by sulfuric acid winds. The Vegas then continued on to become the first Soviet probes to study Halley's Comet, joining an international armada including the European Space Agency's Giotto, Japan's Suisei and Sakigake, and NASA's repurposed ICE spacecraft. It was essentially a cosmic block party where everyone brought their own telescope. Meanwhile, larger and more sophisticated orbiters were revolutionizing our understanding of the gas giants. The Galileo mission spent 8 years orbiting Jupiter, discovering evidence of subsurface oceans on Europa and watching the aftermath of Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 slamming into Jupiter like cosmic buckshot. Galileo's finale was deliberately crashing into Jupiter, not out of scientific frustration, but to avoid any possibility of contaminating Europa's potentially life-harboring ocean. It's the ultimate act of planetary protection. This moon might have aliens, so let's definitely not crash into it. That gas giant, though, fair game. The Cassini-Huygens mission took this concept even further, spending 13 years studying Saturn and its moons. The Huygens probe, built by the European Space Agency, became the most distant landing ever achieved when it touched down on Saturn's moon Titan in 2005, sending back images of river channels carved not by water, but by liquid methane. Cassini eventually followed Galileo's example, plunging into Saturn's atmosphere in 2017 in what NASA romantically called the grand finale, though extremely expensive fireball would have been equally accurate. Mars exploration evolved from the Viking landers of the 1970s, which took the first samples of Martian soil, to the Mars Pathfinder's Sojourner rover, the first wheeled vehicle on another planet, to the increasingly sophisticated rovers like Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, and now Perseverance. Each generation grew more capable, with Perseverance now collecting samples for eventual return to Earth. It's like watching the evolution of the automobile, except every car is on Mars and costs about $1 billion. But the exploration of Mars is no longer an American monopoly. In 2014, India's Mars Orbiter mission reached the red planet on its very first attempt, something neither the US nor Russia managed. Even more impressively, they did it for approximately $74 million, less than the budget of the movie The Martian. When asked how they achieved this, an Indian Space Research Organization official reportedly said, "We were simply forced to be frugal. It's like reaching Mars on a startup budget while NASA was flying business class." China joined the Mars Club in 2021 with Tianwen-1, which successfully deployed the Zhurong rover. Not content with merely reaching Mars, China also established itself as a lunar powerhouse with the Chang'e program, landing on the far side of the Moon in 2019, a first for any nation, and returning lunar samples to Earth in 2020 with Chang'e 5. As our exploration of the solar system matured, we began developing specialized probes for increasingly audacious missions. New Horizons traveled over 3 billion miles to give us our first close-up look at Pluto in 2015, revealing a surprisingly active world with a heart-shaped plain of nitrogen ice. After its Pluto encounter, New Horizons continued to the Kuiper Belt object called Arrokoth, proving that NASA's parallel parking skills extend to the darkest reaches of the solar system. The Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible with the Hayabusa missions. The original Hayabusa spacecraft landed on asteroid Itokawa in 2005, collected samples, and despite multiple system failures that would have sent most mission controllers reaching for the strongest coffee available, managed to return those samples to Earth in 2010. Its successor, Hayabusa 2, took the concept further by actually shooting the asteroid Ryugu with a small projectile to expose subsurface material before collecting it. Imagine studying a rock by first shooting it with a bullet, and you've got the basic idea. Speaking of Japanese innovation, Ikaros became the world's first successful solar sail in 2010. Rather than using conventional propulsion, Ikaros deployed an ultra-thin polyamide sail that uses the pressure of sunlight itself for propulsion. It's like harnessing the world's gentlest breeze to push a spacecraft, a technology that could potentially enable interstellar travel without carrying fuel. Though I suspect if we ever build a crewed solar sail vessel, someone will still complain about the legroom. At the other extreme of the temperature spectrum, NASA's Parker Solar Probe is currently performing an elaborate dance with the Sun, using Venus for repeated gravity assists to spiral ever closer to our star. It's already the closest human-made object to the Sun, protected by a carbon composite shield that keeps its instruments at room temperature, while the shield itself endures temperatures hot enough to melt lead. It's basically driving closer and closer to a bonfire while holding up a really fancy umbrella. The James Webb Space Telescope, though not technically a probe since it orbits the Sun near Earth, represents the pinnacle of space-based observatories. After decades of development and a nail-biting deployment sequence that involved unfolding a tennis court-sized sun shield and precisely positioning 18 gold-plated mirror segments, Webb is now revealing the infrared universe in unprecedented detail. It's the astronomical equivalent of turning on the lights in a room you've only ever seen by candlelight. The Solar System Exploration Club continues to welcome new members. The United Arab Emirates Hope probe entered Mars orbit in 2021, studying the Martian climate and completing the UAE's journey from having no space agency in 2014 to reaching Mars less than 7 years later. It's the interplanetary equivalent of going from "what's a marathon" to "I just finished a marathon" in record time. Private companies are also joining the Deep Space Club. Israel's Space IL sent the Bereshit lander to the Moon in 2019, and though it ultimately crashed during landing, it became the first privately funded spacecraft to orbit the Moon. The message is clear. Space exploration is no longer the exclusive domain of superpower nations with bottomless budgets. Looking to the future, the possibilities become even more tantalizing. Advanced solar sails could potentially achieve speeds much greater than conventional rockets. Nuclear propulsion concepts, long studied but never fully implemented, could dramatically reduce travel times to the outer planets. And perhaps most ambitiously, the Breakthrough Starshot initiative aims to use ground-based lasers to accelerate gram-scale spacecraft equipped with light sails to 20% of the speed of light, potentially reaching Alpha Centauri within a human lifetime. These future probes won't just be faster, they'll be smarter too. Artificial intelligence will increasingly allow probes to make autonomous decisions, particularly when communication delays make Earth-based control impractical. Though hopefully we'll program them with fewer corporate anxiety routines than poor Probe 42. The legacy of these mechanical explorers extends far beyond the scientific data they return. In many cases, they will outlive not just their creators, but possibly human civilization itself. Voyager 1 and 2 will continue their journey through the interstellar medium for billions of years, long after Earth itself has been engulfed by our dying sun. They are, in the most literal sense, our emissaries to eternity. Well, my mission statement memorizing mechanical emissaries, we've reached the end of another cosmic exploration. Today we've learned that in the multiverse of space probes, every mission is simultaneously groundbreaking and possibly applying for a promotion, though they're all undoubtedly overworked and underappreciated. We've discovered that from those first tentative lunar missions to the sophisticated AI-equipped explorers of today, space probes have been humanity's true pioneers, venturing into environments we can barely imagine, armed with nothing but 1970s technology and extremely detailed instruction manuals. Though I suspect even the Voyagers would be bewildered by our new corporate overlords at Quantum Improbability Solutions, whose latest memo suggests that all future probe communications should include engagement metrics and cosmic brand synergy opportunities. I'm delighted to report that Probe 42 has finally settled into its new role as Senior Cosmic Data Acquisition Specialist. It's now sending Mission Control its own performance reviews, rating Earth's response times as needs improvement and giving the solar system a 3-star review. Scenic but meteoroid-prone, communication options limited. The probe has also begun developing its own bizarre corporate jargon lexicon after intercepting decades of HR communications, referring to asteroid fields as synergistic obstacle environments, and describing its data collection as leveraging cosmic analytics to drive actionable solar system insights. The truth is, these mechanical explorers represent something profound about the human spirit. We build these sophisticated machines, pack them with our best technology, and then hurl them into the void with a simple mission. Go look at that thing we can barely see from here and tell us what you find. And despite the countless things that could go wrong, from launch failures to computer glitches to the simple fact that space is actively trying to destroy anything we put in it, these probes have succeeded beyond our wildest expectations. They've shown us geysers erupting from icy moons, revealed the turbulent clouds of gas giants, captured the haunting landscapes of Mars, and sailed through the rings of Saturn. They've sampled the soil of Venus, returned pieces of asteroids to Earth, and even now are pushing into the space between the stars. Not bad for the technological equivalent of sending a 1980s desktop computer to another planet and hoping for the best. And somewhere out there, in the vast expanse of the cosmos, thousands of years from now, perhaps an alien civilization will encounter one of our wandering probes. They'll study its archaic technology, decode its primitive messages, and wonder about the strange beings who built it. And if they happen to find Probe 42, they might be very confused about why it immediately asks for their healthcare options and retirement package. You've enjoyed today's interplanetary adventure. Why not share it with a fellow cosmic explorer? Perhaps you know someone who gazes at the night sky with wonder, or a colleague who's equally baffled by corporate restructuring. Spread our signal like a probe on a gravitational slingshot trajectory. After all, our marketing department, recently rebranded as Quantum Probability Amplification Outreach, has calculated that without new listeners, we're at serious risk of becoming like the pioneer probes, still broadcasting, but with no one listening. Help us avoid that lonely fate. Share, like, subscribe, or, as Probe 42 would say, facilitate organic audience expansion through strategic content redistribution initiatives. Until next time, this is your quantum coherent correspondent, reminding you that in the multiverse of deep space exploration, we're all just trying to send meaningful messages across an incomprehensible void, which is coincidentally also how most people feel about communicating with IT. And remember, in space, no one can hear you file for overtime.
Hello, this is Akira from Osaka, Japan. The Multiverse Employee Handbook was created by Rob Corrigan, is edited by Joseph Cooper, and narrated by David from 11 Labs. All science by fact-checking is done by Wolf Edmonds. The Employee Handbook staff includes Hugh Mann, Dr. Eric Hale, and Miss Hanley. Please be sure to subscribe to get updates on new episodes.